Today, we've heard a lot about industry-driven science. But sometimes people do science just for the sake of it. I imagine that's why Santiago Cajal studied the brain, to catch a glimpse at the workings of consciousness. Cajal showed that the brain is much more than just a mushroomy lump. It is a densely packed forest of electrical trees. Interesting, but so what? Fast forward 100 years, and now making machines more intelligent is a billion-dollar industry. An industry set to be revolutionized by the findings of neuroscience, the science of the brain. All of this is very exciting, but we would do well to remember that this knowledge was first stumbled upon for the sake of one man's curiosity. Artificial intelligence is now part of many devices, and there is growing demand for better artificial intelligence capable of performing human tasks like recognizing images and sounds. For example, medical scans are now widely used for diagnosing illness, but with large amounts of data and limited time to look at it, there is a need for better artificial intelligence capable of assisting doctors in identifying problems such as cancer. In the auto industry, car manufacturers already use artificial intelligence in automatic gearboxes and brakes, but there is increasing interest and funding going into extending the use of artificial intelligence to create self-driving cars. These would not only make our roads safer, but they could also prevent problems like traffic jams. Internet advertising is also big business, and it's getting bigger because advertisers have access to your personal information, like your recent browsing history. Advertisers want to increase their revenue by using artificial intelligence to predict exactly which ads you are most likely to click on. So, whether they want to save lives, sell cars, or advertise, industries are demanding better artificial intelligence. Traditionally, these problems have been approached using standard techniques in programming and mathematics. This works great if you want to write software which can play chess. But it performs dismally when it comes to problems like walking across a room or answering a customer service call. So, how do we improve artificial intelligence and meet this demand? Currently, there is only one truly intelligent machine on the planet, the mammalian brain. We'll start by using science to reveal how the brain works. Then we'll look at how to use this knowledge to create smart devices. Finally, we'll see how this is going to permeate through industry and change society for the better. The strange tree-like cells studied by Cajal, neurons, are the essence of the brain, and they communicate with each other using electrical signals. Over the past 100 years, neuroscientists have been concerned with how these neurons are arranged in the brain. Suppose we show a human subject a purple triangle. Light from that triangle enters the subject's eye and stimulates photoreceptor cells in their retina. These cells create electrical impulses which travel down the optic nerve to the switchboard of the brain, the thalamus. The thalamus redirects incoming signals to the very outermost layer of cells in your brain, the cerebral cortex. This is where you do all of your higher functions. If you ironed the cerebral cortex out, it would be about as big and as thick as a tea towel. In fact, everything between that very outermost layer of cells and the middle of your brain is just wiring, connecting everything up. The cerebral cortex consists of physically distinct regions which perform different tasks. Right now, in my brain, some regions are helping me speak to you, some are helping me see you, and some are taking care of those things called emotions. The thalamus directs raw visual data to regions at the back of the brain, the visual regions. but it doesn't direct all the information to all the regions at once. Instead, these regions are connected in a hierarchy. When the information gets to the lowest level, these regions grab on to simple features like corners, lines, and primary colours. This information is then fed up the hierarchy. These higher regions make more abstract conclusions about the shape and colour of the image. It all comes together at the very top, where the brain works out that it's looking at a purple triangle. Of course, there are higher, even more abstract regions in the subject's brain, which are probably thinking something like, why am I being asked to look at this triangle? But this reveals that hierarchy is a very powerful way of processing information. But the brain is much more than just a clever corporate structure. Every time information goes from region to region, the brain generalizes. When your brain sees two similar images, it activates pretty much the same neurons for both image because they're practically the same image. A computer can't do this without a lot of practice. But the brain doesn't need practice, it just does it. And it does it by restricting the number of possible ways neurons can represent input data. Now, this is like an electronic dictionary having to represent each word it receives using just 2 letters. That's a massive loss of information. But the wiring in the brain is such that similar inputs are represented using the same shorthand. That would be like if the dictionary represented all the synonyms of happy with TG and all the synonyms of sad with DM. In this way, the brain generalizes all the information it receives, which is a good thing because the brain receives a lot of information. So, the brain consists of a number of regions connected in a hierarchy, and they use a shorthand to generalize information. But how does the brain learn and memorize? Suppose we show our subject a screen, which alternates between showing a purple triangle and a red square. Each of these images activates a different set of neurons in the subject's brain. Suppose that I'm a neuron. What I'm doing is I'm looking at my peers, and I'm noticing which of them activate just before I get activated. So, whenever my precursor neurons activate, I go into a predictive state, telling the brain that I think it could be my turn next. In this way, the whole brain is working like a prediction machine, constantly asking, what happens next? When the subject is being shown the purple triangle, the neurons in the brain are already predicting that they are going to see a red square next. Hierarchy, generalization, and prediction. These are the things which make the mammalian brain so intelligent. These are the things which make you. How now do we make artificial intelligence? Our traditional approaches haven't lived up to our expectations, so we have to cheat and copy what the brain does. One way of copying the brain would be to take all the information in neuroscience and use it to simulate the brain exactly, right down to the individual neuron. The problem is that this is difficult to do even for simple nervous systems like that of a worm, let alone anything approaching the complexity of a mammalian brain. So this exact approach won't create market-ready solutions anytime soon. However, in our brief survey of the brain, we came across 3 features which led to intelligence. This suggests that we should be writing software characterized by having these 3 features: hierarchy, generalization, and prediction. Recently, people have started doing this in the form of hierarchical neural networks, and they have been very successful. I ran one of these programs on my PC, and I showed it lots of pictures of chairs and sofas. Over time, it started associating one pattern with chairs and one pattern with sofas. In fact, when I tested it on images it had never seen before, it correctly categorized 95% of them. It only really got stuck on images like this, which it incorrectly thought was a sofa. But I think we can let it off the hook for that one. Google also did a project with neural networks, exposing it to lots of images from YouTube videos. It started over time to recognize lots of patterns. Unsurprisingly, it got very good at recognizing cat faces. But this is a very high level of abstraction. Bear in mind that image recognition is a problem which went unsolved in computer science for decades, and now with the advent of brain-inspired neural networks, these things are recognizing cat faces right out of the box. I've already given you 3 industries where this stuff is really useful. It definitely doesn't stop there. In the gaming industry, manufacturers are constantly looking for ways to make their computerized characters look more human. And believe me, in today's generation, gaming is a huge market. In finance, banks need artificial intelligence to detect credit card fraud, and there's also some interesting applications detecting fraud on the stock exchange. But the first thing that came to my mind when I heard about this technology was the problem of recycling. It only takes a few people to put the wrong plastic in the wrong bins, and it messes it up for all of us. But what if we could have rubbish sorting robots equipped with brain-inspired neural networks? Then we could sort our waste into as many categories as we liked, making it possible to mine our waste for raw materials. So what needs to be done at the business end to make this all happen? Clearly, we need people writing artificial intelligence software with the philosophy of copying what the brain does, because this is the most promising way forward for artificial intelligence. The challenge for businesses is to identify areas in industry where brain-based software is particularly useful so that they can then exploit those specific niches. And this is something that we in New Zealand should be involved in. It's new, so there are no big corporations blocking the market. And it's software-based, so startups won't require all the venture capital to go get the big factory in China and materials for manufacturing. In the IT industry, our physical location is no longer a barrier to success, thanks to the internet. Indeed, New Zealand has seen a number of successful computer-based startups which have reached worldwide markets and made their New Zealand owners much better off. But the most exciting aspect for me is the prospect for graduates. We produce hundreds of new computer science graduates every year. And what would be more attractive to a graduate than solving engaging problems while working on world-class brain-based software right here at home? We just need to provide the vision-filled companies and jobs to let that happen. Artificial intelligence has been creeping into society for a while now, and with brain-based artificial intelligence, all industries would see smarter, more efficient products providing better solutions to today's problems. 100 years ago, Cahal glimpsed inside the brain. Since then, neuroscientists have uncovered some amazing systems which go into making the brain so intelligent. Some of this new information suggests solutions to problems which have plagued computer programmers for decades. So, it is time to take advantage of all this neuroscience research to improve artificial intelligence. It is time to give New Zealand's advanced IT graduates something amazing to do right here at home. It is time to supply the needs of some of the world's biggest industries. It is time to build the brain.